Hey, hey, welcome back. All right, Gemini's, excuse me, Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus, I just got done with Gemini's, so forgive me. But here we go. Ophiuchus, we have the energy of individuality. Now, I always think of anytime we're looking at the inside of a temple, it's a good representation of the inside of us. And so with individuality coming to the surface, it says, always remember that you're absolutely unique, just like everyone else, which is a lovely, and very true message here. But I feel like this could be a moment where a Fucus is really feeling good about who and what they are, not comparing themselves to others. We have the Seven of Swords. Not having to feel like they got to lie to be somebody who fits in, but rather they're getting more comfortable not fitting in. We have a Five of Swords. To have the 7 and 5, this is both numbers of change. I'm feeling like a Fucus might rub a few people the wrong way who want a Fucus to conform, and I don't see a Fucus doing that. Maybe in the past they did a little bit to make other people more comfortable. A Nine of Swords. Okay, so a Fucus really may have dealt or still deals with some air signs that are very rigid in their belief systems. This could be mothers, fathers, this could be society, this could be community, anyone who is challenged by a Fucus's own belief systems. And it's crazy because sometimes when somebody else has a different viewpoint of the world or a different belief system than we do, it's really tempting to be like whoever starts pointing the finger being like, well, you're wrong, this is making me unhappy, you shouldn't act like this, you shouldn't do this. The first instinct sometimes is for the person who's getting like more or less attacked for having a different opinion, starts to be like, oh my gosh, am I in the wrong, instead of flipping it and saying, who makes you the grand poobah of everything? What if you're the one who's in the wrong? Like it's interesting because I do feel like a Fucus has been more or less someone or a group of someone's would prefer a Fucus to, even if it requires a Fucus to lie, just conform so we don't have to stress out. And I don't think that that's working anymore. And I think instead of a Fucus being like, why should I have to conform? What if you're the one who's in the wrong? Who says I'm the one in the wrong? How come you get to tell me what's right and what's wrong? Instead of it taking it that way, I think a Fucus is instead much more evolved than what I was just suggesting, and is probably instead looking at people and saying, that's okay that you believe the way you do. It's okay that you're even uncomfortable with things that you're unfamiliar with, because that's your way. What you're familiar with, I'm not challenged by. It's okay that you like the way you do things. You have your own unique way, and then so do I. So there is no, you shouldn't be stressed or upset that I'm not doing things the way you do things. I couldn't possibly. How could I walk in your shoes? Only you can walk in your shoes. Instead, how about we get along? Six of Pentacles. We don't have to do things the same or think the same to actually still be very good at getting along together. I'm not trying to step on your toes. You don't need to try to step on mine. And you certainly don't need to be stressed out on my behalf that I'm somehow doing it wrong. Whatever this could be a lifestyle choice. This could be the way a Fucus is choosing to like dress, do their hair. And it's like, I mean, that's an age-old example, right? Every generation, because trends change so much. I mean, once upon a time, women had to be covered down to their ankle and up to their chins, and nowadays, obviously, clothing is exceptionally more revealing. But once upon a time, there was both ends of the extreme, and then there was that migration period where trends changed. And as trends changed, it became more, skirts got shorter, necklines got lower. There was always going to be people who were like, well, that's scandalous. I'm uncomfortable with that. You can't dress like that. You can't live life like that in those clothes, even though who cares what somebody else is wearing, right? But I'm just using that as like a very stereotypical and like visual example of, again, maybe this is like, oh, I dye my hair, I do different things to my hair, and someone's like, no, that you can't have pink hair, you can't possibly do that, that's not a true hair color. And it's like, well, moms, pops, nana, papa, actually I can. And it's okay that you don't like it though, too. But it doesn't mean that there's a problem. I don't have a problem with you. You don't have to have a problem with me. Don't stress out so much about my hair or my clothing or whatever this is. So I really think Ophiuchus is just handling this with tremendous grace, their individuality. Okay, so tell me more on this topic. Yeah, we have the we have the Nine of Pentacles and we have the Four of Wands. I think Ophiuchus standing up for themselves to a certain extent, deciding what they want, deciding what works for them, and deciding with that Four of Wands what kind of partner they want to be with. All of that is going to make their life blossom exactly the way they want it to, exactly the way it should for who Ophiuchus truly is. If Ophiuchus tried to conform to whomever these air signs are, it would not be authentic for them. Ophiuchus is going to find their love partner, their match, when they start like being okay with the fact that other people will be challenged by their authentic self. And as soon as Ophiuchus isn't bothered by the fact that some people will probably not like them or not accept them for who they really are, it's okay because other people really will. We have a Ten of Wands. This is Ophiuchus just throwing off the guilt of, oh man, I got to carry other people's expectations around and please them. No, I do not. It's okay if other people are not pleased with my hair, my clothing, choices. It's okay. The only person that I need to worry about blending well with is a partner that I care for and who cares about me exactly as who I truly am. I think Ophiuchus is reaching a point where it's like, hey, I'll either be single or I'll work for myself, start my own business if I can't possibly, be accepted for what I look like or how I do things. Or I will only date people that actually accept the real me, or I'll be single if nobody does. But I'd rather be my own individual self than live according to someone else's template, for my life. So, and there's no guilt over this, just like there's no anger over this. Justice. It is unfair, though, that Ophiuchus even has to work through the process of like not being bothered by this, because I do feel like there has been unwarranted amounts of stress and even ostracization that Ophiuchus might have, received from somebody just because Ophiuchus is living their life a little differently. It feels like we're talking about somebody who's a black sheep of their family just a little bit. You know what? Sometimes it's really great because when you get used to surprising people, or people, don't like the way you do things, but you're going to keep doing it, they really have no choice but to accept you. And then sometimes nobody expects you to do what they want anymore. And so there is a sense of freedom that comes with this. There is this huge evolution going on in this storyline for Ophiuchus, because they're no longer feeling guilty or shamed by the fact that they're going to live their life according to their own rules and context. It is allowing them to enjoy more freedom and to recognize that when family, because it really feels like family dynamics or something, when family members have to come around to saying, well, I still love you. It's just, oh my God, it stresses me out so bad that you whatever you wear, those short skirts or whatever it is, but I still love you. This could actually strengthen bonds instead of break them, is what it's saying here. Certainly, I think Ophiuchus is going to be a lot happier because it's like, hey, I needed to be who I'm going to be. There could be like one ancestor, one grandfather figure that's like really going to be supportive and has lived long enough to know we should all support each other in being our own individual paths, our own individual people. Nobody should have to follow anyone else's trend. Be the person, the unique person that you are. It does feel like there's an ancestor out there who really has a lot of wisdom and is probably going to be like the number one supporter of Ophiuchus. And then we got that Six of Cups here. We have soulmate energy coming in. Soulmate in family. I mean, sure. Sorry, there's a little buffering there in the video. Although it may be a little unfair that anybody would ostracize Ophiuchus, on the other hand, there will be other people that get beyond that and they support Ophiuchus and they love Ophiuchus just as Ophiuchus is. And real connections will also be birthed and will grow. Better connections, connections between Ophiuchus and loved ones who really cherish Ophiuchus for who they are, but it also leads Ophiuchus to meeting that soulmate, the person who will be a terrific romantic match for them as well. And I don't think they could have ever ended up with the right partner if they didn't give themselves permission to be who they truly are. God, Ophiuchus's whole life seems to be getting lighter, brighter, and better. With this 9 of Swords in the reverse, like there's no more stress and fear over, oh gosh, what are they going to think of me? Ophiuchus is able to like walk in their own light now. The Ophiuchus could have a really unique way of like, maybe they do some super cool art or something. Maybe they, they've chosen to become more of an artist, and that what they do for a living or what they do for financial gain could be something that's far more artistic. They might, maybe everyone in Ophiuchus's family is always, worked in the family business, and Ophiuchus is like, no, I don't want to be a banker. I'm an artist. That's what I am. So I'm going to go ahead and pursue that. But it feels like that helps them to get into the realm that they needed to be in, which is the realm that is right for them. That's how they're going to meet the right people, the right partner, the right life partner for themselves. Ophiuchus wouldn't have found the right romantic partner living in someone else's shadow. Queen of Swords. I do feel like Ophiuchus is breaking away from the family norm. They may also be much more of an adventurer. You notice she's wearing like a Indiana Jones hat, and she's here in London, and she's got like a treasure map in front of her, and she's writing all these notes. I'm feeling like Ophiuchus is much more adventurous. Maybe wants to live abroad, or maybe wants to travel other places. Maybe that's not what Ophiuchus's family is used to, or that's not where Ophiuchus typically, like the support around them wouldn't be to like, oh yes, immigrate, go abroad, go travel the world. Maybe that's not the family that they came from, or that's not the community that they are, raised in. But Ophiuchus they're a trailblazer. Ophiuchus is somebody who's wanting different adventures. And at this point, they're going to go ahead and take charge of their own life. I just don't think Ophiuchus is going to adventure for too long alone. They may at first, they may take a solo trip somewhere. That could have been what all the hubbub was about. Someone who's like, no, Ophiuchus, you can't go on a trip abroad by yourself. You can't do that. And Ophiuchus is like, watch me. I can go. I can do that. Maybe that's exactly what Ophiuchus needs in order to be free enough to meet the right person for them. They are headed toward a soulmate, a Four of Wands relationship. Or even maybe this is taking a job, that will give them a transfer someplace else. But everything here says Ophiuchus is broadening their horizons. And that is how they meet the love of their life, this King of Cups. Look, Ophiuchus could be older, and maybe this is the pushback from their adult children. Like, no, mom, pop, you can't go traveling about the world and, living as a single person, kicking up your feet. And it's like, yeah, actually I can. I know I'm your mom, but I'm also my own individual person. It feels like this could be an older couple finding each other. But again, it's only possible because of this radical change that Ophiuchus is making, and they're doing it without guilt this time. I have a distinct impression this has been like a lifetime of Ophiuchus kind of following other people's, wishes of, but I need you here, you can't leave yet, mom, pop, Nana, you got to be around for all of these things. You have to be the person that we want you to be. But I think it's Ophiuchus's time to be who they also need to be. This Ophiuchus goes from being single to meeting someone that's a really great match for them throughout this storyline. So this comes on pretty fast. I mean, this is a wonderful, wonderful adventure on the horizon for Ophiuchus. And it could be something as simple as, it doesn't have to be that they're traveling abroad. It could be Ophiuchus is simply going to allow themselves to stop going to bunko night, and they're instead going to go out and go salsa dancing, and in their own local community. And it's like, oh, but you can't break up the bunko group. And it's like, yeah, but I want to do these other things. And thank goodness Ophiuchus is doing it, because that's how they're meeting somebody else. That's how they're meeting the love of their life. I do think that the love of their life might be someone who loves the beach or loves, riding the waves of life, somebody emotionally like fun and available, somebody who's lived some life themselves and knows that it doesn't behoove us to live our life small or according to somebody else's rule book, but instead to like expand. All of this is about this radical change in Ophiuchus's life is expansion. All right, I'm going to leave this here. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. Lots of love. Bye.